They said the galaxy had entered an age of peace, trade flowed between the stars, 1,000 languages finding voice through the translation grids. Empires that once burned worlds now held councils instead of weapons. For the first time in recorded history, the map of known space shimmered with balance, and somewhere in that vast silence, humanity had taken its seat at the table and no one remembered exactly when the humans arrived. They came in fleets of modest ships, bearing flags of 100 nations that no longer existed, smiling like diplomats but moving like soldiers. Their colonies grew quietly, their trade expanded cautiously, and their military remained politely hidden behind layers of bureaucratic denials. To the older races, they were newcomers, clever, charming, eager to please, and entirely too fragile. The other species laughed gently behind closed doors. The humans were soft. Their skin tore easily. Their eyes leaked when emotional. Their hearts beat too fast to be calm, too slow to be efficient. They reproduced clumsily, died quickly, and carried a strange obsession with sentiment. They wrote poetry about loss, sang songs about pain, and called it beauty that it was harmless, they thought. Even charming. They did not understand that those who romanticize pain are the ones who have survived it. Humanity built trade hubs and listening posts along the spiral arms, serving as mediators between older powers. They were excellent negotiators, patient, calculating, disarmingly civil. When conflict brewed between the scaled and the feathered, it was often a human voice that calmed the room. When borders clashed, it was human logic that smoothed the edges. They were the glue of the fragile peace, and in that role, they became predictable so when it happened. When the first reports came from the Eden 3 colony, the galaxy barely looked up. It was just another border raid. It happened in the outer belt every cycle. Slavers from the Scorvian Reach attacking a convoy, taking hostages, selling them to pleasure syndicates beyond regulation. It was common, unfortunate, regrettable, but this time, the victims were human. They were not soldiers, not spies, just settlers, scientists, teachers, and their families, mostly women. The initial report was brief. Convoy Alpha 9 intercepted. Survivors minimal. It reached the Galactic Council in less than an hour. There were condolences, formalities, words written in passive tense. The slavers were condemned by statement but not pursued. The bureaucracy moved like syrup, slow, indifferent, safe. The humans filed protests, initiated hearings, sent envoys. The usual process. The usual silence. Weeks passed. No justice came. The slavers vanished into deep space, protected by the usual network of corruption and complicity. The other species looked away, the way they always did when it wasn't their blood on the deck. Then something strange happened. Every human system went quiet. IT began as an anomaly. The trade relays went dark. The civilian channels fell silent. Even the entertainment networks, normally flooded with music, stories, and laughter, ceased transmission. Ships passing through human space reported no response to hails. Every planetary feed displayed the same image, a single white symbol on a black background, the sigil of the Terran Accord, and beneath it, a timer counting down from 24 hours to no one knew what it meant. When the clock reached 0, every human across every world, civilian, soldier, leader, child, stopped. Factories powered down. Fleets halted. Markets froze. 1 billion voices fell silent as one. There was no movement, no speech, not even the sound of industry. For one full day, humanity disappeared from the noise of the galaxy. It was not protest. It was not grief. It was something older, heavier. A ritual. The galaxy watched in confusion. Analysts called it a mourning period. Others labeled it cultural mass grief response. They argued on broadcasts about its significance while the humans said nothing at all, and in that silence, something shifted. There was a stillness that did not feel like peace. It felt like the pause between breaths, the calm before a heartbeat, the kind of silence that belongs not to mourning but to calculation. When the 24th hour ended, the lights came back. The markets reopened. The fleets resumed course. On the surface, nothing had changed. Yet those who watched closely, the ones who had learned to read the subtleties of human expression, felt something colder in their manner, something behind the eyes had gone quiet. The next council session, Earth's representative stood. The chamber was crowded. Thousands of species suspended in the gentle rotation of artificial gravity. The human ambassador wore the same formal uniform as always, face expressionless, tone polite. The translation grids flickered as he spoke, but the machine struggled to interpret the cadence. "We will no longer request justice," he said. "We will remember who denied it." The words were not a threat. They were a statement, delivered without heat, without rage, without performance. And yet, every creature in that chamber felt the temperature drop. Then the humans withdrew one by one. They left the council. Their diplomats recalled. Their embassies closed. Their flags lowered. The galaxy took it as confirmation of grief. The polite race of mediators had retreated to mourn their dead. They would recover, as they always did. They would adapt. They always did, but there were a few who had studied history. A few who knew the pattern, and they whispered to one another that when humans go silent, something ancient stirs. It began quietly. The first to notice were the freighter captains near the Terran borders. The beacons that usually blinked along trade routes, gone. Patrol signals, gone. The stars along the human frontier grew darker each night, as if someone were drawing curtains across the void, and those who ventured too close did not return. Weeks passed. The galactic networks filled with speculation. Some claimed the humans were collapsing internally, their alliances fracturing. Others believed their silence was strategic, a form of isolationism, retreating from the politics of alien kind. But deep in the archives of military intelligence, certain analysts began to see patterns, old Terran signals resurfacing, codes not used since the early wars of expansion. Ancient satellites coming online, pinging dead coordinates. The activation of long-dormant shipyards in the Sol system. There were whispers of AI constructs flickering back into existence, ghost systems that had slept for centuries. Something was moving beneath the quiet, and yet, the galaxy dismissed it. They said humans were too civilized now, too integrated, too rational. They had become part of the machine of peace, too dependent on trade and diplomacy to risk open war. Their fleets were modest, their population small. Their influence, though sharp, was soft, but those who had seen the look in a human's eyes when threatened, the look that said, "I have nothing left to lose but everything to protect," felt an old, primal chill. Still, the council did nothing. They sent condolences, promises, resolutions, the usual theatre. The humans answered none of them, and then, a month after the silence, a single encrypted transmission escaped human space. It was intercepted by a neutral relay near the border of the vast Dominion. The message was only 2 words long, untraceable, untranslatable except by human linguistic AI.